Yes.
All right, good. Make sure you record this scintillating intro. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be hosting this meetup. I shouldn't call it Einstein anymore, right? It's the Tableau CRM meetup. I'm still getting used to the nomenclature, but I pretty well have it nailed. So yeah, nice to have a little group here, all getting together remotely. So yeah, on behalf of Gobi, very happy to be hosting. We are big believers and strong users of Tableau CRM. We've based our entire user experience off of it, and are in the process and continuing to train our own internal team on how to use it. Annie is a good example, who's on the call today, who has familiarized herself, I'd say recently, with the tool and has quickly become extremely proficient with it. So if there's no better selling point to the tool than that, it's, can be picked up. No shade on Annie's technical skills, because she does come with a decent amount of those. But yeah, just looking forward to the discussion today, and thanks again for everyone to take time out of their day.
Thank you, Todd. So we will be looking into Antonio's presentation on Spring 21 and beyond, and I think he has promised us some part of Data Prep 3.0 and what is coming in that as well. We are all excited about that, of course. And then Janvi Reddy is going to show us some things on revenue ops. So handing it over to Antonio. You want to take over?
Yes.
And we can see the screen.
Perfect. This came up, so we can reduce it. So I had just 2 slides as a quick introduction, and honestly, it's a very it's going to be a very demo-focused session. But both I and Janhavi are very excited to be here today. You are all, having worked on Salesforce products for a while, I know you're all familiar with this slide. Some of the items we will be discussing today are forward-looking, so please make your purchasing decisions accordingly. And so we'll talk about some of the Spring 21 highlights. We just wrapped up the release in terms of product development, and we are, of course, going to build a lot of marketing material, cool slides around this. But today I wanted to show you the product, and I picked a few of the highlights so that we could do kind of deep demos around those things. And then we will have as part of these highlights the revenue operation app, and Janhavi will do kind of a dedicated demo of the new app, because we are very excited about that. We are getting a lot of good feedback from early customers who are starting to play with this. But apart from that, we also started doing a project for renewing the data manager. If you have worked for a meaningful amount of time on our product, I'm sure you're all aware that the data manager is kind of older at this stage compared to other items, other areas that we have renewed more recently. For example, we have built the new data prep. The homepage has been refreshed more recently, and so I'm excited to show you. We actually have a living prototype, so it's gonna look like a demo because we can click around and see things. Although differently from the other demos, it's not actually software, and it's not coming in Spring 2021. Although Safe Harbor, we hope to have a beta out actually in the summer, so it's still coming soon, and it's not too forward-looking, hopefully. For Data Manager in particular, since it contains many different pages, we do want to get your feedback, but we feel that given the amount of stuff that we have there in terms of different pages, I was thinking I will send you a Google form after, rather than stopping during the presentation. And so I really would like to get feedback on this prototype. And so I'm asking you, maybe if you have something on the monitor page, just make a quick note on the Note app. I will ask the collaboration of Santani to maybe get the emails of the people attending, and I will sending you out the Google form with the what do you think about this page, and then what do you think about the data page, and so on and so forth.
We will be more than happy to send it around.
Thank you so much. So having said that, as I said, I really want to make this about the product, and so this is the real agenda for today that I wanna have. So I'll start with a demo of dashboard components. It's something everyone in our product is really excited about. And we feel that it really allows to reach a much higher level of productivity for our customer and reusability of the things that they build. So I'll start the demo by creating a blank dashboard. By the way, we have started the rebranding, so it shows Tableau CRM Analytics Studio in this release. I cannot
probably a bigger question, Antonio, but like, is there a strategy to merge Tableau and Tableau CRM, or they remain separate products for a long time?
There is definitely a roadmap to keep growing Tableau CRM as an independent product. However, there is also an integration roadmap, and that includes things like integration at the AI level, where, for example, you're able to deploy Einstein discovery models also to Tableau and show them in Tableau dashboards and also in Tableau data prep. And there is also a roadmap for integrating the data layer and having data exchange in between the two products. A third item, which is a little bit more forward-looking, will be integrated authoring between the two platforms. But definitely there is a strong roadmap also for customers who just have Tableau CRM and want to keep using Tableau CRM. So going back to components, what you can see now is that we have on the left-hand side this component, and what you can do with it, when you select, you can either select an existing component, or in this case, in this demo, we'll do the whole cycle and we'll create a new one. Okay. As you can see, the component opens as essentially is like it's like a dashboard with a slightly smaller grid, and of course it doesn't give the opportunity to create another component inside the component. All of this has been done for reusability. What I mean by that is that, for example, say we add a chart. Again, this is like a dashboard at this point. I'll create a simple chart based on this opportunity history data. And for example, I'll just do a count of rows by country. being like a dashboard, I can even have pages inside a component. Okay, so it can really be a mini dashboard with pretty much all the features that you can have in a true dashboard. I'll save this component. Something that I want to point out, and it's highlighted here, is that when you create one of these components, you have to make sure that it's available in the app where you want to deploy it, or it could be a different app, but it has to be an app where the end user has access to it. So in this case, this is just a demo for myself, and I will operate in my private app. But you will have the kind of issues where something doesn't render in your dashboard if the component is not accessible to the final user.
Antonio, quick question regarding this. So when this initially came out as a pilot in winter 21, we were told that if you add a global filter or any, this doesn't interact with filters from the dashboard itself. Has that problem been solved?
I'm gonna include some faceting and like that in the demo. Thank you. And it was part of the reason why it wasn't GA at the time. So for now, I'm going to say the component as I said, and this is the new one that I created. I called it demo component. I'm also going to, for example, I'll add a chart to this dashboard itself, right? And this is now we're not within the component. We are in the dashboard itself. So this is not something that's going to be reusable as one is, but I create something based on the same dashboard. And for example, I'll do just a simple year month kind of a thing. I think I might have made a mistake in my demo. Let me save the dashboard.
I was gonna say, while you're doing that, one thing I've been testing too is with kind of like with the dashboard backgrounds, just in trying to break it and figure out where I can mess it up. I did like a default where I'll do small lines or like a border of 0, create the component, and then change it on another destination dashboard and see if it squishes it or not, see if it retains those settings. And I've been trying to break it different ways.
Yeah, so we have a feature for allow filtering and faceting, which is what I meant. The release is kind of fresh. Oh, okay, no, it worked now. I guess there was I'll check with the team because maybe there is a little bit of there is a small bug in enabling and disabling the feature, but I can confirm that the feature itself is there.
That's cool.
And other important aspect is the reusability. So if I create a completely separate dashboard that includes the same component, and I'm going to do it quite quickly. And for example, this dashboard includes that same component that I just created. Again, I can select to allow filtering and faceting. Maybe I'm going to add a simple filter here for the same dashboard, maybe based on the account owner.
Does it have to be the exact same data set?
Well, you can use the same features like to connect data sets.
Do data source linking, okay.
Yeah. And see, this is filtering. So this is working also on the second dashboard. But I think what's really cool about components is the reusability, right? And so, for example, as you can see, I kind of made a mistake and I made the component too small for the. So I want to go in and fix that. And I can enter in editing my demo components. We have clear messaging that explains that you are editing something that's going to be applied to all the dashboards that include that component. And you can even just make a copy. And so you still have the opportunity to keep things separate if you're doing it accidentally. But I think the big value when you do this, knowing what you do, is getting the shared value of reusing, right? So I'm going to edit the original, and I'm going to fix my mistake by using all the width that I have. Maybe I'm going to also, you know what? I want some conditional formatting, you know, with different colors for the different countries. Or for example, with the on the count of rows itself, I want a gradient, right? Now, if I save my component, again, it gives me a reminder that it needs to be in the right app for the dashboard. But you know, it's fine. It's fine by that. Let me quickly refresh this dashboard, and you can see that my changes have been applied to the dashboard. They apply also to the other dashboard too. So that's very good because I can make sure that there is you know, the ability to reuse these components, and hopefully if used correctly for our customers and also partners who do a lot of work on our product, we feel that this will be a huge productivity booster.
It's going to save people like me, maybe Carl, Ashuka, so much amount of time. We have to recreate the components multiple times for use in multiple dashboards. So that goes away.
Yeah. And I think the consistency too, being able to kind of like we're talking about from a best practices standpoint, creating another app like in parallel with the ones you have certainly or currently for kind of blessed components. And you could even prefix the component name with that. That way when people are going to choose that, it'll only choose ones they have access to, like in the app folder. So you could limit it that way, who can see what, when they're going to choose what components they should use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that with the apps. So you could have an app where you save your components that people want to reutilize, and they have access only to those because you can check the access to the app. And to keep this demo quick, I created a component that's very simple and has a single chart. But as you can see, when you are in the editor for components, I'm just gonna quickly show it again. This is essentially a full dashboard editor, apart from the fact that it doesn't allow other components within components, but you have everything. And so you can actually create components that are really rich and have even inside the component, they have navigation in pages and so on and so forth. So we really feel that this is going to be a game changer for, especially for productivity.
It will be.
Another thing too that I'm looking at is just kind of like almost, you know how like you want a certain look and feel maybe of the headings on dashboards, or even like the kind of what global filters are used along the sides. I'm trying to think of all those things like you all said that we repeat a lot on, you know, from dashboard to dashboard. I think that'll help out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because if you think
it can even be reusing just the graphical elements. It doesn't need to be even based on the data.
Yeah, so, I was thinking like, you know, like if you are looking at opportunities for a company, you know how you always have to remember these weird things like what's the record type, you have to know all these things as an end user, and it's kind of crazy. So you just made me think of something I'm probably going to do now is I'm going to kind of create a bare bones, just basic, here are the filters you need for this object to be able to look at it accurately, so your numbers are going to line up with how we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One use case that I can think of top of my head is, other than the learning center, you can actually create your own learning center within this. Create a component for a learning center with, you have to click on filters, you have to click on that, and use it on all dashboards instead of writing it and making it life's work in each and every single dashboard. That one single component can be there everywhere.
I'm stealing that one.
That's a very good one. I can't say that I had thought of that use case myself.
Johnny is so proud of you right now. You have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fabulous use case. I think I was thinking about it even in the context of our apps, right? Sometimes we have our apps with a lot of dashboards, and we could use that as a landing page or landing component that you could like potentially reuse in a lot of spaces. So that's a great
or down the line, provide components as part of our apps. When they install, they also install some components that they become more modular potentially, because people can, instead of using actually the whole app, may use components of it. It's a very cool concept. I'm very excited about this one. Let's move to the second demo. And
before we move on to the second demo,
okay, sorry.
Hopefully this component is going to work in communities when I put it on dashboards and not break everything.
Sorry.
I'm not the PM for components. I don't have the detail, but I have no expectation that it's gonna have a licensing limitation.
Will this be available when the spring sandbox release happens, so I can check it out there?
Yes, it will be in the sandbox. This is a spring org. It will be available there once you have it in sandbox. So the second demo is going to be the revenue operations app. So Janhavi is going to present that demo. I'm not sure how to make her presenter, or
she can make herself presenter.
If you hit participants on the bottom, you'll see a list of everybody.
It's letting me present now, but
yeah, you can use the share. If you can use the share button at the button at the bottom.
Yeah.
Anyone here have questions for Antonio or for Jeff?
Or for Johnny, or for Antonio again? We'll just keep piling it on.
All right. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. So I want to demo today. I want to present the Revenue Operation Analytics app, which was GA in 2008. And while this, I know for the audience here, we really want to focus on what's new as features in TCRM and what is something that builders could use. I think there's a lot of value in the Revenue Operations app because we have, in essence, packaged a ton of best practices that you could put to use in the organizations, right? And I'll take you through what all of those are, and I point out like specifics on what we're trying to innovate on with the Revenue Operations app, and I think it will be pretty useful to all of the audiences here. Okay, so to start off with, in a nutshell, Revenue Operation Analytics is basically an app that helps sales leaders and sales reps understand their sales KPIs along with predictive forecasting and what actions they would have to do with respect to reaching a certain quota, where they are, what are the activities, So it's a great way to leverage all the platform features we have so far in both Einstein Analytics as well as Einstein Discovery, to tell a great compelling story to our sales managers and sales reps. So the revenue operations app is now available with the Einstein Analytics Plus licenses, because we also package the Einstein Discovery Story and the ED step. So it's available as a part of that. And and I'm sure all of you are pretty aware of how to roll out an app. You go through a wizard, which takes you through a couple of minimum requirements. And for this app, we don't have collaborative forecasting as a minimum requirement. We do have opportunities as the only minimum requirement that we would need. If you do have the collaborative forecasting set up, the app is going to bring in all the data of your collaborative forecasting, all your settings, role hierarchy, collaborative forecasting quota, if you have that implemented as a part of Salesforce. If you don't and you have a CSV to track your quota, there is an option to also also upload your CSV into the quota data set that the app then uses to populate its numbers. So let's create an app. I have something that's already created for us. I'll walk you through that. Okay, great. So in here, we're looking at Amanda Mills' team. She's the sales leader, and she has a team of sales rep that are working to close quota this quarter. And in here, right off the bat, you're able to see your top performers and your sales reps who do need coaching or who yet to get to the goal line. And here, Amanda can assess during every forecasting call where her quota is at this point of the quarter and what her prediction is. So in here, you're looking at the actual quota attainment of 72%, but we do use time series in the background to predict the quota for this quarter. So with you are able to compare between the actual quota and the predicted quota right off the bat and say that, okay, Alyssa Williams is on target to reach her quota this quarter, or somebody else who's not on par to reach the quota for this quarter. You're also able to toggle between the closed commit and best case scenarios to get more insights into what the actuals are, what the prediction is, and how a sales manager could help their team, coach their team to get to the finish line. And here you're also able to toggle between your forecast amount and amount without adjustment, as well as forecast with the manager adjustment, which is a very common practice when it comes to forecasting, when sales managers override a forecast in the forecast tab, and that gets pulled into the app as is. You're also able to see high-level KPIs here with the closed one, commit, quota, and the prediction. And you're also able to look at revenue over time. What I do want to highlight is our snapshot date. So in this app, we have built in the snapshotting feature. Basically, it's a bunch of transformations in the data flow that help you snapshot, and we've decoupled the main data flow along with the snapshotting data flow. So it depends on the cadence that the organization feels is necessary to capture the snapshot of data in the org. So you could have, you could capture daily snapshots of your data or weekly snapshots of data, and that basically populates this filter that helps you go back and forth in time and assess how your metrics are trending and how your opportunity data is trending over time. And you could mirror your role hierarchy within the org into the dashboard, and you'd be able to view this app as somebody else. Like if you want to look at the app as Alicia and all the reps that roll up to Alicia, you're able to do that. And you all know that the app is pretty flexible with the Einstein Analytics platform. You're able to add customize the app to any other specific use cases, and that's how most of our customers do use the apps. This is a great way to get started, but they do take it far along with all the customizations that they have in their apps. Now, moving forward, we have the revenue forecast tab, which basically looks at over the last couple of weeks, or from the time the app was generated, what is your what is the revenue and how it's trending over time. And you're able to look at the win rate trend, all the open opportunities, along with the pipeline change in here, which you're looking at the open pipeline, a summary snapshot of your entire opportunity pipeline in the org, your coverage ratio, as well as the new deals generated. So that is what we have as a part of the 228 release. But I do want to give a quick update on what is coming for us in the roadmap. And I think some of these components are something that will excite a lot of folks on this call. Okay, so we have the new component that we are releasing as part of Spring 21 is the top drivers. So it's the first time we're actually packaging the Einstein Discovery Insights as a part of the dashboard. So, so users, you're able to look at your metrics as well as ED insights right from within the same dashboard, and without having to move into several screens, looking at dashboards on one screen and going into Einstein Discovery Story for ED insights on the other screen. So we are looking forward to get a lot of good feedback, or more use cases that we could explore with the Einstein Discovery step as part of the apps. And this is definitely the first step, and we are going to explore a lot of other components, other use cases that we could potentially tie into many of our apps that we have. We have close to 40 apps, so it makes absolute sense for us to start surfacing Einstein Discovery Insights right within the app. And the second module, that second dashboard we will be releasing as a part of Spring 21 is Activity Intelligence. So here you're going to be able to look at, you'll be able to combine your opportunity data along with your activity data to look at your quota attainment, what do sales reps need to do in order to close some deals, how could sales managers coach better, what kind of activities result in better deals closing faster, what have a favorable income, so you're able to get active insight into all of that.
Oh, I can't wait to beta test that with you. I wanted to do that. Solutions engineers, AEs, like you name it. This will be awesome.
I can't wait to even test it out in the internal Org 62. I think that would give us a great, great leverage point.
Exactly.
And as additional customizations, we are looking at adding product and product schedules and custom opportunity amounts. So right now, the app uses the standard opportunity amount field, but I have had customers who've mentioned that they don't necessarily rely on the opportunity amount, standard opportunity amount field, but they actually look at something custom that they've built out for their own specific use cases. So we're going to add a feature that lets them populate or basically select the field that they use to store their opportunity amount, and we could project that as a part of the forecasting dashboard.
I love that.
So so the roadmap is something we're very excited about for revenue operations. You've already seen the top forecast drivers, and I know a couple of them, I'm sure you, Anthony, and there's a lot more folks who will be pretty interested in understanding how the ED step is populated, playing with that JSON to create your own ED step. I definitely anticipate that's going to happen. So I'm really excited, looking forward to that. And the activity intelligence, forecast accuracy, and guided selling is a sort of a POC we're running where you're able to look at better recommendations. So we run the story and let sales managers or sales reps know for this customer, what are the other products that you could position and what their propensity to buy is. So think of it as a recommender. And in Summer 21, you're going to be able to look at more embedded dashboards, because we have received feedback saying that embedded dashboards is something that most customers look forward to, and they would love to see analytics in context. So that's something, and the prescriptive insights along with the customer opportunity support and built-in recipes.
I think the embedded piece, it's crazy. Every customer I've ever worked with, when you look at their adoption of TCRM, it's directly related to whether they embedded the dashboard inside a record page or not. It's crazy. They can go overnight. Like one of my customers, a large bank, I mean, they had, I forgot how many hundreds or thousands of licenses, but there was kind of minimal usage because they had to kind of proactively go into Analytics Studio to get to it. And then when they turned on embedding, they went from like, I forgot what the usage was, but it was in the 1-digit range to, like 40, 50%, just because it was in their face every single day when they were landing page.
Absolutely, it makes total sense.
Yeah, so a quick question for this. I understand that this is revenue ops and you are using opportunity dataset or opportunity object. Can we use, maybe the next step might be to allow us to choose custom objects as well?
Yeah, that has come up in a couple of our conversations, and we're evaluating if that's a feature we need to potentially look at. And that is right now a significant gap in the sales analytics app itself. So yeah, we're definitely looking into adding custom objects.
Yeah,
I literally look at it as like a mapping exercise where, like there's no way that the product team can proactively look at all the different scenarios, but they could say, here's kind of like, here's where the mapping impacts, here's what it is. This is where we're going to analyze the amount, like you said, where it's used. And then it allows you, would you like to customize this? But it has to maintain that same parent-child hierarchy to be able to work, and that that would be explicitly stated before people try to make magic happen where it can't happen.
Yeah, or you can just use a simple data set, right? Instead of going through opportunities and everything.
Yeah, I mean, what you could do is basically swap out the object names in the data flow.
Correct.
Yeah, you could at least bring in all the data into the data sets. And I do understand that projecting them on the dashboard might be a little technically complex, but you are able to right now, like it's a pretty easy effort to swap out those object names and fields to bring it at least in the data set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we are looking at how could we make that, projecting on dashboard slightly easier. And we did take a lot of feedback, and in the apps that we're currently building, we're trying to keep them small and trying to keep them, even the platform has made the progress that it has. We're also trying to minimize all the bindings that, so far you see it in like the other behemoth apps like sales and service. So we are like consciously working on keeping it very minimal with respect to bindings.
You made me think of something though, Saintani, is one of the biggest barriers most companies have is if they're not a Salesforce administrator, they can't do apps at all. Like we can't. Jonavi doesn't have access. Antonio, none of us have access to create apps in our Salesforce org. So because there's a lot of implications with data flows and stepping on each other's stuff. There's a good reason why. I'm almost wondering if for people that are in that situation, if they're allowed to kind of, like you said, upload a CSV file instead of pulling from Salesforce. Maybe if the kind of the format of the fields are like documented and what they're used for, they could have like almost like a CSV template of that. Like we used in, was it the sales analytics app where you can upload your own quota file or upload your own quota data in a CSV file? It would be interesting to see if a lot of that data that you need a data flow for could be done manually. That way people who don't have that access could still at least work around that constraint and still create apps.
Yep. Like in our org, we don't have opportunities at all. So what Jeff said, it would be my way of doing it, and then change it to use the revenue ops for our benefit in a different manner than currently, because without opportunities, I cannot even start the app, right?
Right. That's fair.
So the persona is even bigger. The persona is not just someone that doesn't have Einstein Analytics or Salesforce admin access. It's also someone who has a completely different data model. And that CSV would allow them to still pull the data in and use the best practices and layout.
Yeah, it almost sounds to me like, you know, a best approach there would be to decouple like just the best practices, right? Like decouple the snapshotting part or decouple the discovery part, and like allow users to just plug and play the data that they would like instead of decoupling.
That's exactly right. You're right, because next thing after we do this, then the next part is, okay, well, I'm the admin. I don't really know the business as well. I can fill out this data piece up front, and since you've decoupled it, and then maybe the next part it's approval, or it has another person that goes into that app and they fill out the business domain. They choose those variables. Because right now, well, what we have to do is we have to go in the business. We have to go into a development environment and try to configure it and make all these decisions when there's no data. You know, there's no representative data. We're not 100% sure what to do sometimes, but we know way better than the person installing the app, you know, might know. And it would allow us to kind of go in there and test it out.
Yeah.
Like the division of labor, like as far as who does what. I like that decoupled idea. If it's not too complicated for you all.
We do have a couple of dashboard templates out. We have a couple of dashboard templates out there that has taken this idea of decoupling just a strategy, right? Like a snapshotting analytics app or just the time series. So we should explore what more we could put out as a part of it.
Yeah, time series is a great example of that. I use the heck out of that because that's something that doesn't require data flow that I can do. Like it's almost like dashboards that are geared towards things that are really hard to do in common, but hard to do in SACL.
Right.
If you don't know how.
Will that work for only polymorphic objects?
Let's see. That's a good question. I don't like the who.id, what.id, or things that can belong to different objects. That's a good question.
The
Could
right
be one answer or one to many answers, right? I'm just playing.
Right. I'm trying to think. Do you have like what would be like a prime use case you think of that, Evan? Or what would be your prime use case with polymorphic usage?
Oh, activities, depending on the way they have them set up. Activity to quota attainment. Honestly, I was just curious.
I was gonna say that's the only time I've ever had to deal with that. It really is with activities, and you know it could be related to an account or a contact or event or a custom object, or more than one activity to the same one, or vice versa.
Yeah, obviously the goal I think for all of us is to relate activity to quota achievement and be able to visualize that in a very clear way, right? I was just curious I wonder if that could be that in the future. Cool.
Evan,
that's pretty awesome.
Your question might be solved by Peter, because Pete does know a lot about how to work in Einstein Analytics with who ID and what ID, and he keeps showing us what he does with it.
Yep, and one of the people I feel like you all have to do that activity intelligence anyways, John, and being David May. Like if you could picture Pete Lyons, take him and then not multiply him by 10, but just that Pete Lyons, and then you get David May. David May's been with EdgeSpring. He's like our internal, for my mind, he's like our internal Pete Lyons type person.
Yeah, put David and Pete in a box.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, it sounds like, Evan, that activity intelligence, it's almost like a morphing between what we've got, what we're looking at with that app, plus this past one where we're looking at quota. I'd be surprised, John, it sounds like you're going to have to do that as part of that app anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, not the time series part, but we are at least we're looking at you would be able to resolve your who ID, what ID, and you're also able to look at, if you have an EAC data set in the org, you're also able to bring that data together in the activity intelligence. So that'd be a pretty interesting facet to explore.
what about the revenue forecasting piece? I almost see it as a marriage between, you know how you show the different quota in there? For me, it's almost a marriage between revenue forecasting and activity intelligence. They have a baby, and then that ties the activity to quota. And their quota. or it refers to them, like, or it even, like, you know, it links to. I don't know if you've ever thought about linking, you know, one app to another, or like including the functionality of another app, if it does exist. But I think that would be an interesting thing, is how can you leverage what you've already done with another app potentially in the activity?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, because right now we're also internally and externally with customers, we're trying to understand, because a lot of times, you know, these use cases, they're probably a part of one of the apps. They're definitely a part of one of the apps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that a lot of our customers and users just don't know where to go to, which app to go to. And sometimes it can be so overwhelming that it's, you know, it's just like, where do I start, right? Like, somebody who's like been in the system for a long time, they know it, right? Like, they know it really well. It's all at the tip of their fingers. But for somebody who's new, it could be like hard. So that's something we're trying to brainstorm on how we could, you know, solve better. And like you said,
I see it as the navigation. So when you do create app, if you have access, if you do create app, you know, you have the tags for the different industries. I almost think it gets down to almost that metadata level, like on the KPI widget, like on a component level or widget level, where you've got, you know, what's people, I don't know if they're able to tag it, or if you proactively tag it for them. But I mean, you all, since you're kind of like creating the recipe for each widget, maybe, you know, one widget's looking at activity and opportunities, another one, you know, like, I'm just wondering if there's a way to tag widgets with kind of like the function it's providing. That way, if people are looking for it, they could not only look for it by like the overall title, like for revenue forecasting, but if someone's like, if Evan's looking at it and he wants to look at, he would type in quota and activity, and then, you know what I'm saying, it would show the different widgets or the two different apps and the widgets underneath both of those apps that deal with either those objects, or maybe you all tagged them that way based on the object used.
Yeah, almost like a library of micro widgets or micro templates.
Yeah, like, yeah, your search engine, you could search by app, you know, app name or metadata, or like if we did get tagging down to the widget level, you know, being able to kind of tag it that way so people could, like, to your point, could quickly find things surrounding that. I think right now, if they just, the kind of the built-in way, they would just go up to search and type that name in, and it would show up like as a data set. Or well, I actually know that wouldn't work. I think it's going to touch on Zui's Metalytics stuff. Like it'll maybe,
will.
Yeah, okay.
It eventually will, yeah.
So Antonio, this
Yep.
is one more example, and there are a lot of apps, templates actually that Janvi has taken care of, which use forecasting other than event time series. Now revenue ops also entered that. So ultimately, if we are actually using the templates to build these and then they don't work in the community, I think it is a big bummer for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are thoughts to be made about licensing. In the case of revenue operation, it's actually only for Plus. At the current stage, so not even growth supports this app. In this case, because it, as Janavi mentioned, it also includes elements that leverage Einstein discovery. But
otherwise,
I hear you.
Ever. You know, you just go get a company with a limited set of Plus licenses, and then everybody else uses a community license, and then are able to use time series in that and gut rehab it if they have edit access, or like with Einstein discovery. It'd be that's the fun stuff that they get to figure out.
yeah, that's the type of concern that's obviously behind some of these licensing considerations, for sure. Let's see if we can pack a few more features into our presentation today. So I want to talk about a little bit more. I want to talk about data prep for a little bit. We have exciting things in here. And the first thing that I want to talk about is windowing. Now, windowing is kind of a standard industry word for, you know, the artist formerly known as compute relative in data flow. And we tried to make it much more rational, much more streamlined in data prep. Because in the end, we recognized that these are all formulas. And so the difference is that a formula that's a windowing formula is a formula that impacts multiple rows. So the point is that the references that you can make in terms of fields are fields that not necessarily you want the value of a field, not necessarily for the current row, right? And so the way you create a windowing formula, you kind of start your normal formula. Actually, let me show you how to add a new one. You start a new custom formula and then you switch it to multiple rows. And you have a list of window functions. We also expanded a little bit what currently compute relative does. And so we have first value and last value. And in that case, you can pick which fields. So based on how you partition, say for example, you partition by opportunity owner, and based on how you order, say for example, you order by date, first value of field amount will be ordering by date, and for that owner, the first amount ordered by date. If you do last, it's the opposite, obviously. You can still reference the current row, obviously, because you oftentimes the use case is a comparison between the current row and another row. Lag and lead are more SQL standard words or keywords for saying I want to the following or the previous row. On top of that, we have what we call ranking functions. Rank, again, based on your partitioning and your ordering, it creates a ranking. The distinction between rank and dense rank is just how ties between records are resolved. Say, if you have the same amount for two different opportunities, they do get the same ranking. But in one case, the following ranking will be not skipping one value. While, for example, if you have a three-way tie at number one, for dense rank, the next, which is the fourth value, will actually be number two. While for rank, after the three number one, you will have number four. So that's just these are also like standard SQL behavior. And of course, in the example where you have these 4 rows, row number just returns you the simple row number. Even if there is a tie, it will still do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
So just one point for anyone who doesn't know about SQL lag and lead, but is using the compute relative in data flows. It's basically lag is your previous value, lead is your next value. So yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
It's we have feature parity, and you know, we just, I feel, made a much nicer kind of UI and way to also integrate it in the general concept of a formula, which can be a formula that runs only on the current row or a formula that impacts multiple rows, but it's not an entirely different node. And I think that this is a much cleaner design. So just to play with it, I created
data flows, and especially learning data flows. This one is much more intuitive than going into data flow and figuring out what am I going to do next.
Yeah, absolutely, because you are in a formula. Sorry?
I'm so sorry. Can I interrupt and ask a question because I'm late? Hi, Antonio.
Hi, Jen.
I'm sorry. I'm that attendee, right? Are you in charge of this now? What is your role now? Because I know everybody's switched up, so I just want to make sure. Is this your baby?
No, I'm actually honestly I'm presenting stuff from all over the product, actually my team did build the backend for this windowing node actually. So I am very familiar with it. You know, team remains in charge of the whole data prep tool. But if you join the first part of the meeting, I presented about dashboard. I'm going to include a bunch of things on the product in general.
It's no problem. This is where I live. What you have up here right now. So my question is, feedback for this goes to who now?
Oh, but yeah. I mean, you can give it to me. You can give it to the team as usual.
Niraj has. Doesn't Niraj have?
Niraj is in charge of this. I forgot. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to know before I see all this because this is my future you have up here.
Yeah, Chris Links has connectors. Niraj has Data Prep 3.0, and I'm trying to think of Tim Bezold. I'm trying to think of which aspect he specifically has now.
He got bumped up.
Yeah. But it's still on Data Prep 3.0. So definitely feel free to give feedback to the people you already know. Feel free to give feedback to me, and if I don't know it directly, I will make sure that
you've always taken good care of us all through the years. So I'm glad that you're overseeing
the right person.
this.
So it's really no problem.
The way that this guy, Antonio, in his position is, if you want anything to ever appear in your UI, you have to start with the query engine. It doesn't matter how much you want the UI. If it's not in the query engine, it doesn't get in the UI eventually.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I'm sorry to the group. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to be,
no worries. Thank you so much. So I created the first very simple formula that's a multiple row formula, and I just created a ranking. And I just partitioned by account and ordered by profit. So based on, for example, here on top, I have this account Abbott for 4 times. And ordered by profit, I will get the appropriate ranking. And by the way, what's really cool is that when I do apply, the preview gets the ordering based on this, and this helps me troubleshoot immediately if I'm getting actually what I want. So in this case, I did partition by account, ordering by profit, and I descending because I want the highest profit first, and then the others.
Does it allow you to select the field for partition by? Oh no, I'm thinking of order. Sorry, I'm thinking of order by. My bad. Never mind.
I'll show you a couple more examples as well. So with 2 or 3 examples, we should be good to see how to get and see how it works. And being a ranking, I'm defining this as a numeric field, and I'm calling it ranking by account. And so when I clicked apply, I already get the same ordering that I am actually setting up here so that I can easily troubleshoot. And so if I go, the shape, let me see. You don't seem to have the whole, okay. So as you could see, I had 4 opportunities for Abbott, and they are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look at the profit, which is this column, you can see that they're ordered in a descending order for the ranking. Then I have these are all number ones because I have a bunch of opportunities. I have a bunch of customers where there is just 1 opportunity for that account. But otherwise, I would have gotten the ranking also for those accounts. I created a slightly more complicated example. And in this case, I did a kind of percentage change use case. This is a opportunity snapshot data set, which means that I have the same opportunity multiple times. And so I partitioned by opportunity, and I ordered by date because I want to take stock of all the different snapshots that I have there. In this case, I say I want to order in ascending order because I want the oldest first, then the second, the third, and the fourth snapshot, and so on and so forth. And then what I did was just a percentage change. So current minus lag, which we said it's the previous, divided by current, and I just multiplied by 100 to show it as a percentage, right? And I said that this is also a number, and the precision is 10, scale, and so I called it profit change.
So Antonio, what you have done here, I know Jen also has this problem. We do this in multiple steps. So we, in the data flow, what we do initially is do a compute relative, find what is the lag or what
we never do this.
and then we create another node for computer expressions and then do the calculations. So it's a lot of things that you have done in just one step, and we are so glad that this exists now.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm very excited about
You're
this too.
hero.
And see, you have here all the other functions accessible in the same formula. So it sort of integrates what you have with compute relative and compute.
Who on your team can meet with me personally about this?
Me too.
Because I need to take my examples and make sure they work in this.
Same thing. The reason I'm not using data prep 3.
The other thing
No
is,
pressure.
the other thing is too is they want to they want you all to write blogs on this. Like, here's what we did. Here's the problem everybody has.
I'll write 100 blogs if it works.
Yeah, let's see what are the use cases. Feel free to send them over, and I will check with them.
I would agree with yours.
And I know we're not the only ones on the call, and I'm not trying to speak over everybody else's use cases, but I know Sayantani and I could never do our job without compute, like this scenario right here that you're showing, right? Like, it's the lifeblood of our data flows, even if it's coming from external data. So it's like the one piece that if data prep can do it, we can maybe possibly convert, right?
Yeah, so to be fair, we should already be at parity in this release between compute relative and data flow and the windowing function in here.
But this year's upside down. You get a free pass.
The only thing I wasn't sure of is look up multi-value augments. I'm not sure.
I was about to ask that.
That's something do you remember off the top of your head, John and V or Antonio, if we have look up multi-value or single value parity in data prep now?
We should, but I don't want to 100%. I don't have the 100% certainty. Maybe we can play with it, or I can check offline.
Yeah, we after we're done, we can look at on the join node to see if.
Yeah. My team didn't work on it. I think I saw it in the demos from another team, and so we can look into it. Real time, I will follow up after.
Because our security model is multi-value. So
yeah,
my last hurdle of this is compute relative and multi-value to move into data prep.
And you know, there might be some people on this call. Sorry, I'm not trying to like hijack the Zoom here, but I was just thinking there might be some people on the call that are watching this part and they're not to this yet, or they don't work with it. So a term of what you're seeing on here is if you have to do like complex ordering or sorting of the data before you do something else to it, this is what you would use typically in like a compute relative with compute expressions or vice versa, however you're going to order it. So what you're seeing here would be the equivalent of those nodes in regular data flows.
So like, for example, like if you had a custom object, I did this for like a car dealer, I think it was for an engine, whatever company, they wanted to see, okay, they work on cars for the past year. So each one of this, it's the same object. It's just kind of the history of the changes that have been made when the car came in, when it was left. And so they wanted to know, okay, when was the latest one? So then I had to do what was the newest date or the max date, or I had to sort it descending with compute relative and find out that newest one just to get, hey, this is the row that's the latest. And like Scientani was saying, then I would flag that. And then I had to do 2 or 3 more steps. When now you can kind of do everything in one sentence here, basically, instead of having 3 or 4 separate nodes of the data flow.
And every time you pull in a node, create a new node, it pulls in all the rows again. So it takes a lot of time.
So here I partitioned by opportunity and ordered by date. So essentially I have the same opportunity repeated a bunch of times. So on the 16th, then on the 20th, then on February 11th, then on February 15th, multiple different snapshots that happened over time. I used the formula check the current minus the previous profit. So for example, in this second row, it's lower, right? It's 55 instead of 9100. And so it's a 65% drop. Of course, in this case, the first row will have no value because there is no change compared to the previous row. You can use the default in case you want to put, for example, a 0 there.
So Angelo, with this, so when we are in the data flow, when we create formulas or computer expressions, we don't get to see if it is going to work. In this case, it's the opposite, right? We get to see if the formula is working, right?
Yeah, and the specific preview changes to try to show you that use case that you're doing there. So the step 1 was the ranking, and it showed me the preview ordered for that specific ranking that I was doing there. And that field now is in the data set.
So it takes away our failure of knowing that we put a wrong field or we missed quotes or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I think here that I'll talk to Neeraj about it, but I know that you've already got it working in the engine is if you go back to that formula, the second formula to calculate values, I think one thing that's really handy is to be able to use the max and min windowing function on that. You use a max and min on a date field or even like an epoch value. I know that would be super useful because then I skip that extra, that step of having to sort them, find out the newest or latest.
Yeah, I saw a use case for that even today, definitely.
We helped me on it, or maybe Neeraj helped me on it like 4 years ago for that engine company I was telling you about. But like that's you've got it working. Believe it or not, Tim Ham in the engine you can use max or min with dates. We just haven't exposed it on the UI side yet.
That would be even better if we can have max and min.
Interesting.
Right now,
can you expand upon that?
Well, it was just on the SACL side. Sorry, it's not in the Spark engine, but on the SACL side, you can overload in the SACL. Right now in SACL you can overload max and min with dates. So if you have a list of all the dates, you could choose like the largest date. Or like, the newest date or the oldest date with the max or min function.
By the way, when you get this in Sandbox, which is going to be, I think, in January already, please review all the changes. Also, we have a lot of more date functions here, and we have a lot of cool stuff. So
I can see months that didn't exist.
What's that?
Yeah. So please review. I'm not going to demo every single feature in this drop down. But again, what's really cool is that we are integrating everything in the same formula. So it can be a formula that acts on the single row, or it can be a formula that touches also other rows. Something also very cool is the pilot that we're doing for more smart transformations that we have Clustering is a very cool smart transformation. In this case, this is not going to be like immediately available on your org. It's more of a pilot feature. I don't know if you guys have worked with Jim Pan, but he owns this pilot and he can hook you up. I activated it myself yesterday on my own org so that I could show it to you because it's a really exciting feature.
I'm just bragging. I'm just kidding.
And you and I, Jeff, have been talking about clustering actually for years. Potentially as an engine feature. I do think that it's a use case that's better versed for data prep than for like a real-time interactive query, because customers want to kind of save and write the cluster on their data. And that's why we started prioritizing this use case as a data prep use case. So it segments the data into distinct clusters. So you can select a label and it's gonna be, since you selected 3 clusters, it's gonna assign each of these rows to either cluster 1, cluster 2, or cluster 3. And you can select based on which columns you want to create these clusters. So this is going to segment these rows based on the profit, revenue, and the field call segment, so urban versus rural. And it's gonna try to optimize and create the given number of segments here.
So the way that I would use it, and Antonio, feel free to correct me, the way that I'm thinking about this is, if you have an inkling of a clue, like if you've already done Einstein discovery or ML on this data, then it's even easier, right? But if you, as a subject, like a domain expert in a certain field, if you have an idea of what fields would, like numeric fields would make an impact together, kind of what's that, first order, second order, third order. I mean, to me, that's literally the perfect place to start to run that cluster analysis on. Is just
and again, it's gonna create in preview. By the way, this one at this stage is too complex to run in preview, so it's gonna be created only when you run the actual recipe in batch. Although I did hear from Jim that he was looking to see if this can be made available as a preview as well. And so you will see, for example, that this particular row belongs to cluster 1, this particular row also belongs to cluster 1, but this one belongs to cluster 2, for example. And then you can use this in your dashboard as a dimension that's there. Its types of use cases are marketing segmentation, a lot of those types of use cases, because maybe you want
ranking and more ranking.
That too as well. So absolutely. So you can definitely define groups of records. Again, if you do it on the account, it's gonna be probably your customer segmentation. If you do it on opportunity, it can be your different types of deals.
There's an interesting question, Antonio, from Prabat in the chat room. I'm assuming we use numerics here, but I'm assuming you're going to be able to do it on dimensions as well.
Yeah, I included a dimension like segment in the example. I haven't worked on the feature closely enough to tell you what type of algorithm we used for the conversion, because you do know that K-means clustering uses only numbers, but there are ways to encode dimensions into numbers. But yeah, for a deeper dive, you will have to talk to Jim on how we did that in terms of algorithm, but I can confirm that we do allow for dimensions in here.
Because they were asking, just simple things like stop words. Like if a field of yours is unstructured data, are you allowed to put in stop words? So if you said, I am going to the mall, none of that really matters except for mall, but it's going to evaluate all of those words in it. So they're asking.
Yeah, so that's, I have a side note on that. I've seen from the, that we have a smart transformation roadmap, and I think that they were thinking of creating a feature to kind of mine that text and find, create a more structured text dimension out of that. So for example, you will get only the rows that talk about mall. You get only the rows that talk about product X versus product Y. And probably if you run that type of transformation for kind of smart text matching, and then on top of that you run clustering, it's probably going to be more efficient than just trying to cluster on text directly.
Antonio, I think you should have to introduce our other Salesforce employee that's just joined. I think Oksana is on.
Oh, hi, Oksana.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm silently typing in the chat. In terms of the algorithm, I think that's a scheming algorithm,
yeah.
And they doing some processes on the back end to translate measures.
Yeah, so as I said, K-means itself allows only for numbers, and so the conversion of, for example, segment to number, I will need to follow up with Jim how that part is done. But yeah.
And then Oksana, Oksana, you have to tell everybody about your TCRM celebrity and what you do with the product.
So first of all, Oksana is a lead designer working on one of the lead designers working on Einstein, actually TCRM now, and she has done an incredible amount of work for what you're seeing here in the data prep tool. But she's also one of the 2 designers that are working on the new data manager. And
that's not fair. I think she should have to, Antonio, I think she should have to tell us this, not you.
Sorry. But
all good. Thank you so much for the introduction. But yeah, I guess Antonio introduced me already. I'm just product designer working on the on data prep stuff and data manager stuff. So addressing the question you had earlier, if you have any feedback, in general experience feedback, please send my way, and you can follow up with Antonio. He can share maybe email. So yeah.
Yeah, and let me speed up some of this demo. It's just because I also want to make sure that we show data manager, which is the reason today I asked also Oksana to join us. Another cool smart transformation that comes in the pilot, by the way, it's time series, which essentially takes what we have in time series for dashboard and transports it here to recipes. I'm not going to show it right now, but we have that as well. I'll quickly show a couple of other things that we have in query so that we have enough time to also see the data manager. So let me switch to creating a lens on my, for example, my opportunity history data set. We are releasing as a beta. So you're gonna have to ask for support to turn it on for you if you want to play with it. We are going to release SQL in your query. When you do switch to SQL in Explorer, it tells you that it's gonna wipe your current query. The reason is that we don't have a translator that takes your SQL that you have written up to then and translates it back to SQL. So if you start making edits, those are gonna be lost when you switch to a different language. We will release a bunch of documents on what are the things that are going to be supported in this beta. Then I think we hope to be GA already in the summer, but it's going to be a journey. So even the GA features, you know, it's going to be like SOCL, for example. There's going to be a document that tells you which features are there. And also in something that we don't have right now, but we hope to have later for the GA or open beta later in the summer, is faceting when you put these things on dashboards. So we don't have it yet in what you're gonna see now. But apart from that, you know, we support a number of standard SQL features. So say you want to group by product, you can do that. Maybe I should also show the product column itself, otherwise it's going to be hard. And all the stuff downstream for it works correctly. So you can go from SQL to chart, and you can pin this on a dashboard. Again, what it's not going to work in this release is faceting in between multiple widgets on the same dashboard, but I think it's in the roadmap for the summer. Again, I'm not going to do a whole SQL demo, but for example, we do have filtering, and so say you want to say where maybe country equal, I think in here we have United States in this data set. And you see your numbers here change because the filter is being applied. We're very excited about this. It's a journey, so it's in every stage right now. You would have to ask for a switch to turn it on in your org from support, or if it's a demo org, just shoot me an email if you want to show your customer that this is coming. For those of you, especially for those of you who work for external customers, because for many of our customers, they just know SQL better than they know SACO, especially if they're starting on this journey. It can be a little daunting for them. So we really count on this to make in the, you know, entering our product, the barriers to entry to our product a little bit lower.
We have a question. Will TCRM SQL be ANSI compliant?
Yes, so the features that are there will be ANSI compliant. I cannot say that we will have 100% of ANSI SQL features. You know what I mean? So for example, there are a lot of very obscure ANSI SQL features if you go look at the standards. And so of course, something that, for example, we don't have at the engine level yet is joins, like pure grain level joins. So when in the future we will build a join feature, we will make sure that at the language level will be ANSI compliant. In the meantime, all the features that will be there, they will be ANSI compliant. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, and I was thinking that kind of gets to my next question is, what's the scope of SQL support? Is it more like we're trying to, I know, you know, we're trying to do MVP at first, but like, is there a certain target we're trying to get, maybe, you know, 5% coverage of the most basic SQL functions, like long-term, or 10%, or no?
Oh, I mean, if you look at number of functions, you know, there is really a lot. But if you look at it in terms of what's actually used frequently, we feel that even in the midterm, we will be at a good stage. We will never be 100% of SQL. But we do feel that we will get at some point at a stage where this will be also usable from external consumers. So I'm sure you are aware that query is also just an API endpoint that you can hit from external tools. You can hit from you get it from Workbench, for example. We are also working on a JDBC driver that you can use externally to just hit the API and use the SQL features via driver for a standard like JDBC that would allow to connect, a bunch of also external product potentially. So this is not in this release, but we hope that in like 2021 we will have this driver. We think it's going to be most likely something that we release as an open source project, a bit like we did for example, dataset utils, that people can take and integrate in their workload and just hit the API and use SQL that way as well.
Antonio, I might have missed this, but SQL is only for Salesforce Direct, or can we use it with data sets and other external connectors as well, like RDS?
So here, the demo that you show right now, this was a data set. This was an actual data set. And so the beta that I'm showing right now is SQL on data set. We will have we have Direct as well, for example, to Snowflake. Mm-hmm. In the case that uses the flavor of SQL on Snowflake, we have Salesforce Direct, and that has to use a SQL, which is a kind of SQL-like, but it's a dialect, if you will. But what I was showing was SQL on data sets. Perfect. And in that sense, I was saying the SQL on data sets, you can also use the query API. So not only the UI of Explorer, but also the wave/query endpoint that we have in our API. A couple of very small engine features, and then I really want to switch to the data manager preview. I can tell you it's going to be exciting. We have new ways of filter. We added like filters in our query engine. So say, for example, you have this product column, so in this data set that you see here, you can now filter by like, and differently from what you have right now. By the way, I was using the syntax in the SQL for syntax. The syntax for SQL requires different quotes than SQL. So what's different in like compared to matches, which is the contains that we have right now, is that you can do much more advanced pattern matching, and you can use, for example, the percentage means any type of any number of characters are there. And so say, for example, you have basic internet there, and you can say inter, and you're gonna get, oh, sorry, wrong. I got wrong quotes here. You can get all the rows with basic internet. I think there was, yeah, for example, international day pass, because this also accounts for 0 characters. However, say you can also use the underscore for a specific number of characters. And so say you want to do SIC for basic, I put 2 times this character to say that I just want to find the word, the SIC after the 2. So this allows to do very precise pattern matching. It's going to be useful. Another feature that we have, and then I will really go to the other demo, is random sampling. It's going to be used internally by Einstein Discovery, by the way, for some of their previews, but also customers will be able to use them, to use it in their in their workflows. For example, especially customers who use the API to access our query engine, they can, this is, for example, gets you a 10% sample of this data set. And all the query features that you use downstream for that are going to be filtered based on 10%, on that 10% sample. Being a probability, there is always a little bit of leeway, so it can be 1013, can be 1999 rows. So it gets a random sample out of your data set. And it could really help with a number of, for example, machine learning workflows that might use this data as a source. So with that, I'm going to move to the data manager. And again, we have a number of pages, and so I'm asking you if you to send you an email with maybe a Google form to send me the comment about these pages. I just want to make sure that we cover all the content. So the first thing, data manager will be a proper app in Lightning, like Analytics itself. It will also be linked from Analytics, but it will be available as an app. And it will have the look and feel of Lightning. It will have so many of the good features of Lightning. So for example, the ability to order the columns, we get it for free because of Lightning. So the home page, it's going to be the monitor page. We added more color. We added the ability to filter. We are going to have search. This is, for example, how you're going to be able to see some of the failures. Let me show you the filters. For example, you will be able, in this example, to filter by duration or the status. You're going to have different tabs for success, failed, warnings, or what's still running, or what is still queued.
Oksana, a quick feedback on this. Can we have data sync and the other data flow jobs separated out?
Sure. So you want basically filter by, got it. Yeah.
Right, because for us, data sync runs every 20 minutes. So, and data flows run every 1 hour, half an hour, or 2 hours.
So, would the filter here be enough? Say you just click on data sync and it shows you only those.
Or what if you click on the type column and then it does a sort by type?
Well, yeah, we have, you will be able to have that for sure.
Right, but then it'll sort by type. But most of the time, at least the current functionality, when you sort by type, what happens is it goes in random order and you don't actually find the one you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, would the workflow like this work? You search for job and then you filter out by the job type?
Sure, but I just see recipe and data sync. I don't see data flows and I don't see file uploads or anything.
Now there's a data flow listed in type, so maybe it's just.
Oh yeah, this is just an example.
Okay, okay, then fine. Yes.
You will have all the various types. Yeah.
That might also work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another question too that I'm wondering, Antonio, is like from an engine perspective, is it too complicated or would it hinder performance too much to be able to throw in regex as part of the ability to search?
Oh, I have to look because I think we are reusing a lot of the stuff that we get from the Lightning kind of features from the Salesforce platform. I'll check what's available.
Now, so Prabhat, are you talking about here kind of in the search function, or were you talking about more in the SQL section where he was showing like in the ANSI type stuff?
Oh, I was talking about this now. The data manager.
Oh, okay. Prabhat was asking in the chat room about SQL being able to have regex capability in SQL. I was like, they wanted in SQL. I wanted in SQL or data prep.
I wanted in SQL or data prep as well.
like is going to be available also in SQL. And the demo that I ran was in SQL, but yeah, we don't have regex yet.
Is that kind of like just, I mean, for us not knowing how the engine, everything's set up, is the question of that like a performance hit or a potential performance hit? Is that kind of the main things to consider with supporting regex?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a slower filter for sure.
Especially if people don't know how to use it and hang themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many rows and all that type of thing. How big is the field you're searching in? So again, I'm going to send you like a page by page Google form that says, what are your thoughts on the monitor page? What are your thoughts on the data page? I just want to make sure that I have enough time to show you the various content. And especially the connector flow, we have also the creation of a connection, and we have a bunch of pages there. So this is the data page. I wanted to show you, we're thinking of building out also a more rich data set page itself, where we can show you where it's used, what are the columns. We can show you also more information like column by column. For example, what's the lineage for that?
Can we also get to know here where our data sets are linked, as in which dashboards the data sync? So say you have a dashboard and you have linked to another dashboard. Can we see that as well? Because most of the time we cannot delete.
Through another dashboard. I'll have to check. You can see used into dashboards. Now I don't have it clickable in the
right.
Type, but you should be able which ones to. Yeah, I'll have to check if it goes kind of deep linking as you're asking.
Yeah, because at times you want to delete a data set because it should not be used, but you cannot because it says it's linked somewhere and you have no idea where that is linked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to show a list where it's being used.
Mm-hmm.
Also filtering, in this case by date, who created it and which app. So this is for the list of data sets. And we are also, of course, thinking of the flow for creating a data set. Honestly, this flow is just a little refreshed, but it's very similar to the current one. These are the different setup options for the delimiter and calling, etc. We created one more step where you explicitly do the naming and the app where it goes, and then it gives you the preview, which is similar to what you get today. So this part is not very different. It's just refreshed.
So currently, for if you have say more than 10,000 rows, the upload a CSV doesn't always work. So you have to go through the analytics dataset utils to make it to work. Phil, is it still the case, or?
We will look into hopefully making performance improvements. Sometimes it relies on the browser itself, right? Because dataset utils doesn't have to use the browser to kind of move the file up to the server, so it's not entirely in our hands. But we'll see if we can make performance improvements to that so that you can do bigger files via the UI. But it does go through the browser.
Okay.
Recipe list view, you can see the last status. We want to give you a view of, since the new recipes can have multiple outputs, so you can see what are all the data sets in the output. You can see the schedule. This for now is going to be similar to what we have right now. Of course, you're familiar with new recipe. I'm not going to go there because it just opens the editor that you know very well. Even here, we want to offer, filters and search. And another big topic that we have for the project in general is going to be kind of performance of the UI. Because for those of you who have very large orgs with a lot of different assets in there, the current data manager can get quite slow. So we also want to make sure that the UI is just snappy, even if you have a lot of different recipes. And at the same time, we want to offer a bit more of, even if it's a bit more of the same. So what I didn't say when we were looking at monitor, for example, we want to give you 30 days instead of 7 days. Limits, it's entirely new. I'm going to click there. We have examples of limits, so it doesn't match the actual limits that we have so just take it as an example in this case. So for example, well, the row is an actual limit. Some of these limits exist. For example, you don't have a limit on query, but so these are just examples that we have in design. So just let us know which one are the limits that you will want to monitor directly from the data manager. So this is more of a job for you. And then finally, the biggest, probably more complex page, which is going to be the connector, because it's not just a page, but there is a whole flow around it, right? First of all, we are organized by, you're gonna have the different Salesforce connectors, which can be, for example, at a different schedule. And then you will have ordered alphabetically the external ones here on the left. When you select one of the items on the left, you will get on the kind of central part of the page, the various objects that you have there. You can see different, of course, the different status, including the ability to see, for example, what are the warnings.
So when is this different schedule for SFDC coming in?
Where is this different schedule? Sorry, for?
Sorry, for SFDC local, when are these different schedules coming in? Because right now there is only one SFDC local connection that you can make and everything runs on the same schedule.
Oh, I'll follow up with Chris on that one, with Chris Ames.
Thank you.
But it's definitely something that we want to have. This is also how you edit an existing connection. I don't have the edit here, but I can show you the editor via the creation of a new one. And so when you do, oh, and of course, sorry, before I go there, we have also here filters and search. I think you're a little bit more familiar with that right now. For this SFDC local, you also can hit this info at information on various details around the object. So this refers to the account object. So for example, how many rows, what connection mode you're using for that object, what's the schedule, although the schedule applies to the whole connection. What are the columns? And also, hopefully, down the line, we will be able to keep tracking the where it's used also for the connector level, for recipes, for example. Let me close this. And so, new connection. First of all, on the left, you can see the connection type. You can filter based on what's supported in input, what's supported in output, what's supported live. Certain things might be supported in all ways. In this case, I select the AWS, and let me see if I can go whole the screen of this. I selected the AWS. I can select that I want to create an input connection. I have my, my parameters that I can fill in. And here we have the ability to save only without testing, because for example, well, I might be just trying to save and test, but the test actually doesn't pass, and I want to go back and check some of the parameters on the AWS side, because maybe I didn't allow this user correctly to access this data, and it breaks. So I want to give you the ability to save even if the test doesn't pass, I guess. In this case, let's pretend that the test is passing, and so the creation is the first step, which is the connection itself, as being successful. The following step is adding the objects. You can do a multiple selection. So when you start selecting the first one, you can also select the columns. So for the columns, you can have a select all. We're thinking about this a little bit because it can be a double-edged sword. People introduces too many fields and then it's slow. So we're thinking about this a little bit. But
I would do say select 50 columns at a time.
Yeah, so we're a little bit worried of what's gonna happen, but at least at this stage, we are providing a select all. Yeah.
You're concerned that it can be 200 columns in one data set. So
yeah. So we're thinking about it. But I think what's gonna make it faster is that you can go to the list on the left and select also the next table and a bunch of columns of the next table, and then the third table and a bunch of columns of that one, and so at the same time you can create multiple. Here is how you see the column attributes. So for this account type column, sorry, where this doesn't match exactly what it says here. Again, it's a prototype, so it's not the actual UI. But you can see that you can select the column type, and in this case, if it's a multi-value. And then in this case, say you selected actually 3 objects, as I said earlier, you can also select if you want incremental, periodic full sync or full sync, and if you want to just apply it to all the objects. And save. And at that point, you're here, you created a new connection for AWS Redshift. You have those 3 objects. The status at this part is not sync, but you can handle the scheduling in the drop down here, as I mentioned, or you can also hit schedule run up here after it gets created. So again, this is an early preview. I think we are almost at time because we said we will finish at 2 p.m. I'm going to ask Sai and Tani to help sharing a Google form where we will also add a few of these screenshots. Please, I'm gonna add a disclaimer in the Google form itself. These, of course, are temporary for now and not to be distributed. But I hope you took some notes on what are your thoughts about each of these pages, and you can help us actually get some of that feedback. But we're very excited. We think that the data manager needs a little bit of a refreshing, definitely. So.
Yep, we are always there to help you guys. We are making the product better for us and making our lives easier.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonio, for taking this. I think Janvi has left, so thank you, Oksana, for showing us some good designs that we have been looking forward to. And anyone have any parting questions for Antonio or Oksana?
Do we know when event monitoring and the way it's set up with the users and just the way that we set up our data flows, do you foresee that happening in spring?
I'll check with the. Can you shoot me an email? It's Antonio.scaramuzzino.
Yeah, we can do that. Evan works with me, Antonio, and you know, event monitoring falls through the cracks of who takes care of it. You know.
Yeah. Send me a note because it's another PM. I am not sure, and I just want to make sure that I involve the right person and I don't give the wrong information.
I know we talked about the ugly baby. Sorry.
No, that's it's very useful, and a lot of our customers use event monitoring. So.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. We will see you in February again. Thanks, Antonio.
Bye bye.
Thank you for your time. Look forward to
It was
happy
really
holidays,
good
everyone.
seeing you
Happy New Year.
guys. What a great session. Thank you
Thank
so
you everyone
much.
for
Yeah,
your
this was
time
great.
as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.